like dictionaries or whatever it is, it says a reason for being. So this is basically.
And Mr. Bob cyclone and then I lost your dad. August was over 10. So I'm very proud of the way they've grown up.
Good.
Thank you, Mum. It was very special. Thank you. Alright, so we've learned some tricks already. I'm looking forward to this evening. Okay, who is going to be next? Karen, so that's Dion's sister, but that's who doesn't know. Karen.
Okay, I just have 3 words.
That's my big sister.
I just have 3 words. Annoying little brother.
I'm putting the word annoying. That's all I got to know.
Mum always said that I was the angel of the family, and Dion, the only story I could kind of remember was he used to play squash at school, and one particular day he forgot to duck, and when we went to pick him up, he came out with his broken, bloodied nose. He broke his nose playing squash. That's all I can remember. And in those days there was no, youth training. What do you call it? Child safety stuff. There's none of that. Let your parents know what's happening or whatever. So yeah. Surprise! Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. That was really good addition. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks, sorry.
All right, Uncle George, are you okay to follow the same pattern?
Not
No. Okay, well,
particularly.
we can do it.
But there's a couple of things. Sports tragic actually comes to mind. Not quite sure of these colours. If I could just relate a little incident about these colours. Some of you know I'm a bit of a sailor, and we're just on the race to Vanuatu, and there was a boat called Helsa was just about to be delivered to Singapore, and the captain, who was the delivery officer or captain, whatever you like to call him, was instructing the crew how he expected them to behave on the journey from Vanuatu to Singapore. And I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to say, but you know what a head is on a boat? Some know. Well, I won't explain it to the rest, but he told the crew he did not want the head looking like a hawthorn jumper.
We agree.
It's a pity Dion hasn't followed the storm, isn't it? I got as close as I could to my colours tonight.
Well, Uncle George, we have to get... Okay, you keep on talking.
In fact, apart from 5, there's several being mentioned already tonight, but the thing I really think Dion is resourceful.
It's a good word.
Jan did mention
Uncle George, you said you don't have colours. We do. Welcome to the family.
Where's it been? Jan did mention that they did have a tough few years. At one stage, in the you were doing a trip, you were getting prepared to go to somewhere overseas.
Yeah, they went to the UN.
There was something wrong with your computer. You arrived at my office in the city mid-afternoon and wanted access to my computers so he could prepare something for this particular trip or one of the exams he was doing. Then we visited him in Moscow. You had to be fairly resourceful there. Told us that you'll pick us up in a car just outside of Red Square, but be very careful to jump in quickly because the police are not too happy about that. And then he said, I don't have any petrol. I said, well, let's go and find a petrol station. Oh, no, we don't have those. We're going to find a petrol tanker parked on a road somewhere. So, very resourceful. Each time I've seen Dion, he's been fumbling in a bag or a pocket looking for some Microsoft product that hasn't been used for how many years? By someone in Unadaka or somewhere else around the world. But Dion, all I can say is you've been very resourceful, a great father, a great family man, and a great relative. Congratulations.
So my husband trusts a lot. Someone who he confides a lot in and who he finds probably him as a mentor in some ways, and like they're probably very, very close, those two. We became close to Mark's family when we lived in the UK. They've got lovely two girls who became friends to our children, and they pretty much grew up together for a few years whilst we lived in the UK, and so that family became, we really call them, consider them a family. So thank you, Mark, for coming here tonight and spending time with us. Unfortunately,
I don't know why technology works. No, I can see this. I hope this technology works, yes. Good, thank you. So am I going to follow the same?
yes, we can follow the same routine. So if we go back to the questions, the first question we've got is to describe Dion in 5 words.
Okay, I can do that first. It's last on my list, but I can do it first. So the 5 words I have for Dion are loyal, genuine. Sorry, I'm going to wait for the Russians to catch up.
Yes, it's not the Russian, it's just something wrong.
Loyal, genuine, inspiring, an easy one for you, fun, and I know it is strictly 2 words, but a true friend.
3 words. I'm a linguist.
True friend. Scrap the A. True friend. Okay, so that's the first question
Thank
sorted
you.
out.
That's very good.
Funny or memorable? I've got about 7 things here to say. I'm not sure which one to use, but I'll select a couple. First of all, one of the collections that Irina hasn't mentioned, in addition to the great Starbucks mug iconic range collection, which my wife also collects, so they share mugs and all sorts of stories. But anyway, one of the other things that he collects is films about Dad's Army. My wife does not like Dad's Army at all.
I fully understand her and support her in that.
But it was quite bizarre that a few months ago Dion came to our house in England and there was a special on about the making of Dad's Army, and Dion and I sat and partially watched it. Dion fell asleep, but that's not unusual because he had just flown in from Australia and I sat him down to watch Dad's Army. But a few interesting stories. It'll be really interesting for you if you want to ask Dion about money transfer between Russia and England and Russia. Please ask him about the missing £100,000. But he does have a very nice house in England. Another interesting story was the time that he once contacted me to tell me that he'd been kidnapped in the Congo. Now, what I didn't realise was that as I replied to him, the reply didn't actually go to him, it went to his wife, who was then in a total panic that her husband had been kidnapped in Congo. But he was safe because another Australian came to rescue him.
Sorry to interject to that story.
Okay.
I was hoping that my husband would send me a text when he arrives in Congo. Instead of my husband, the text came through from Mark, and he says, "Don't worry, he's okay." That's all I got from him. So what was my reaction? So that's basically what
And to give you another similar story along those lines, we spent a holiday in Disney a few years back, and Irina and I don't like rides, so we sat out the ride whilst Dion, my wife, and the kids went on this fantastic avalanche ride in the Disney park. I was with Irina and we were near some of the ride instructors, and it was quite amusing to me when she heard that a leg had come off. And of course she immediately thought that it was Dion's leg that had come off. But in fact it was a leg of the ride that had come off, and so they had to stop the ride from operating. But there we go. We have lots of English, Russian complications. So Dion and I share a competition together quite regularly. I'm often in different parts of the world and need Dion's assistance, and so I try to find the most inconvenient time to ring him. I think 2 o'clock in the morning is about my winning time. And so, of course, he offers to do the same to me and regularly calls me back at those sorts of time in the morning and says, "Have I woken you up?" "Well, you have now, Dion." "Yes, you have now." So, and a few other memories of Dion. It was about 10 years ago that we let the Boyd family as convicts leave the United Kingdom and come to where the other convicts were living in Australia. We had a big party at my house and we created a gate, a traitor's gate, and we dressed him up in prison uniform and marched him through the traitor's gate. My kids loved to look at those photographs. So,
One, two.
yeah. It was quite a disappointment when he took the family away from us because my 2 girls had got very close to James and Jessica. Catherine didn't exist at that time, of course, but they still follow each other on modern technology. So that's quite nice. The final thing I want to talk about is something that Dion has that's really special and really, really annoying to me, and that is that he speaks Russian. So when I'm in a room with Dion and he wants to say something to Irina and doesn't want me to know, he switches suddenly into Russian. It often happens in the car when we're driving along, and he hasn't realised that I know Russian too. But no, I don't really. It wouldn't be funny if I did. Thank you. So that's something that is really special about Dion, is his ability to be quite linguistic and switch to Russian as and when is necessary. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Wait. Kids are all putting their hands up. Look, the kids know. All right, wait, hold on, kids, hold on. All right, I'll take 3 guesses. What is one thing that he absolutely hates, absolutely in his most self? Sorry? Greens.
Greens, vegetables.
Greens, greens. His mom said greens. He doesn't like greens. No, actually, Mom, he's very good with greens. As a matter of fact, he encourages us. All right, that's first. Who else? Any other guesses?
Okay.
Wait a minute. My family will say it next. Who knows, Dion? Come on. What is one thing he doesn't?
Chocolate.
Chocolate! Much of a one now. Alright, let's do it. One more person. Come on, another guess. Before my kids. Starbucks! Well, we have the proof of that he does. Alright, I've got James and Katie who wants to say, what is it that your dad doesn't absolutely wonder? Colonel. It was in Russia. I actually worked with Colonel for a short period of time, didn't I? Yes. And
excellent translator.
So, Commissioner,
I think the first thing I'd like to say, in spite of what James said, is that I think all of us should put our hands together in congratulations for Irina. What an MC she is, hey? Hi, James. You should put your hands together, please. Okay. Well, it's been a great privilege for Carolyn and myself to be involved with this lovely family. Now, 5 words without explanation, okay? The first word I'd like to use is committed. I'm saying I could elaborate, but I'll resist. Second word I'd like to use is professional. The third word, and I think Irina's already touched on this, caring. And I think my 4th word is very similar, empathetic. In other words, reaching out. And the fifth word, I think Mark might have used it, dedicated. Whatever Dion puts his hands to, he does it well. And he's dedicated to the task. And I say that from personal experience, especially from those days when the Salvation Army was back in Russia in the early years. All right, something that for me and my wife was very amusing was when we were given the privilege of conducting Irina and Dion's Christian wedding after their state service, and by law in Russia, that's how it goes. And I remember us going to Irina's home, and we were quite puzzled at what happened, because all of a sudden Irina was not to be seen. And the next minute, Dion was not to be seen. And I thought, surely this is not an early honeymoon. And the rest of us are. But what actually happened was, in the Russia culture of the day, when the bridegroom came to the house of the bride's parents, the bride was hidden, and the bridegroom had to go and find the bride, and then he had to pay a bribe. Now my phone's going in the middle of the morning. I'm sorry about that. Excuse me, I'll have to turn it off. No. Where was I? Yes, so Dion had to pay a bribe. So that we could then proceed with the wedding. So that for us was quite an unusual and quite an amusing happening. Now, something that was very special for us, I think Irina's already commented on it. Well, one thing was, of course, to conduct the Christian wedding. That was wonderful. The second thing was when I was given the privilege, when we were travelling through Moscow on our way to Atlanta, to the Congress, Millennium Congress, to be asked to conduct the swearing in of Irina as a senior soldier. And that for us was very, very special indeed. I've got some photos, no point, I can pass them around if you like. That was a very special occasion for us, because when Irina came to work for the Salvation Army, she, at that point, didn't know a great deal about the Salvation Army or about faith, but she came to love the Lord, and she made that expression. And in the same meeting, where is he? James, you disappeared. James, in that same meeting, it was my pleasure to dedicate you, to offer you on behalf of Dion and your mother to God as an infant. So here you are. Can't see it very well there. He was quite a chubby little boy, really. I mean, now to look at him, you wouldn't know it. But in those days, we had two chubby little boys. So that was very special for us. In that one meeting, to conduct the dedication of James, and also to accept Irina as a senior soldier. Now, why is Dion so special? He's an overall Harashur person, a very good guy. That's the first thing. He's a great husband and father. I hope that's true. And the kids. You good kids? Or perhaps that's dangerous to us. I think he's a great husband and father. He's a very committed Christian and member of the Salvation Army. And to Carolyn and myself, he's a great friend. So congratulations, Dion, on your 50th birthday.